This is a tutorial just to see how to work on the Western artwork. So I am drawing from a picture that has animals in it, and to make it more of a Western theme, I printed out a picture from the internet that I'm going to use just as a reference. I'm not going to copy it exactly, of a kind of a farm fence. And I may put a cowboy hat or a rope in front of one of the dogs. So first, I drew the picture on this just sketch paper. To do this, I actually held the artwork, the photograph like this as I was drawing. It just seemed like it helped me to be able to look back and forth more easily, as opposed to having it laying it side by side. So this allowed me to go back and forth more easily. Then after I do that, I show it to myself. You'll show it to me. And then I got this toned paper. I'm drawing very, very lightly because I'm going to end up going, I'm going to do the shadows and possibly some of the outlining with a pen. So I'm just going really lightly, plus I want to erase a lot. This hand right here, I've probably drawn this hand 3 times on this. For some reason, I like the way it turned out better here. So I'm just going to keep erasing it until I feel good about it. I'm probably going to leave it alone right now and then come back to it later. So I'm just looking at it back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can set this up and draw and have you see me draw it. Maybe I'll speed it up a little bit. Can't help it, I'm going to erase this hand again, or at least maybe shorten the finger. Sometimes if you just change one thing, all of a sudden you feel better about it. Okay, I noticed that the body of the dog is right here, and it kind of goes, this is the sleeve I'm looking at right here. It has some creases in it. I'm just going to put a little bit because I'll do more with ink. I'm just getting the overall shape right now. Here's the dog, and has a tail kind of going back. Just going to draw very, very lightly. My hand is not down here, it's back here to help me to remember to draw lightly. Sometimes you can just put geometric shapes, like an oval for the dog's foot right here, connected. And use relative positioning. I can tell that her hand is resting against the dog's arm, and I know that the front arm appears to be further up than the back arm. It's just, in other words, it's closer to the photographer than the back leg. There's a little chain around the neck and tags, which I don't have to put on there. I just thought I would, but I might end up taking it off and putting I will take it off, and I'll put on a bandana, which I'm going to just put a light one on now, but I'll actually look up one so that I can get the way the tie looks, so it looks a little bit more Western, and I might look up the pattern that looks more Western. This is all because this is the time of rodeo for Houston, so that means things should be more Western. Okay, I can see that this is a girl. I can see that her this leg is a little too far over, and that her chest is a little too straight there. It should be more of an angle. So I'm going to go back and forth with this. I have more of these white erasers. If your eraser is getting small, I have some to give to you. Like, I think this is tilted. And the paw, I'm going to put kind of a ball there to help me get that shape. This part is not shown because it's where my daughter's leg is. Okay, I'm going to come over here now for the other dog's face. This is my daughter's dog, Paloma, and this is my dog, Penny. And so I notice that here's her chin, and in the picture, her head's a little lower than the chin. That kind of helps me to get the right positioning. We're sort of doing kind of a copy sort of thing now, but it is very relaxing because you are going back and forth. Your eyes are going back and forth at all times. I think I made her head too big, but we'll see. You can see the dog's nose here. Penny's nose is appearing a little bit lower, so I'm going to go ahead and put it a little bit lower to help me get the right shape. I think her head is probably smaller than this. So lots of erasing. It's just like drawing and erasing. It should be just like polynomials. When you're factoring a polynomial and you guess and check. Well, so we're guessing and then checking. Our checking is, does it look like we want it to look? It doesn't have to look like the photograph, just how we want it to look. Dogs' noses are always bigger. I know most of you are not dealing with dogs, but the cow and the other animals have similar features. Certainly the pig has a big nose. Dogs appear to smile. All animals and people always have a glint of white, a glint sort of like a hole that you should always leave in their eye because we're more comfortable with that. That's actually just a reflection of light from the viewer or the camera. But we're all accustomed to it, so whether you see it or not, you should go ahead and put it in there. And you can also look at the proportions. I can see that her eyes are kind of halfway to her nose, so make sure that's right. I think that her head is still a little bit too big for her. I think she's got a smaller head than that, so I'm just going to make it a little bit less wide. It's kind of flat. Okay, so put in more details later. I'm just going to get another overall. She's kind of at a funny angle right here, where she's got one paw coming forward, almost level with Paloma's, looks like. So I'm going to have that paw bigger at the top, smaller at the bottom. And I'm going to put a little circle to help, again, to help me remember that that is a paw. And this leg appears to be very short. Of course, it's just perspective. It's called foreshortening. And her little paw here is stepped back. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And just do what I'm actually just drawing what I see. Now here, it's a little hard for me because this photograph doesn't include the back of her. So I'm going to have to guess. And you know, I go back and forth to different sections. I think maybe her face is a little too big. So I just keep going back and forth until I feel like I like it. You should have seen what I did with her face, because faces are always hard. But if you pretend like it's not a face, just some kind of geometrical shape, and you're just drawing what you see, it automatically takes some pressure off and makes it a lot easier. Okay, I think it's starting to look a little better. This dog, she is doing something funny. She is looking up. So I want to make sure that I kind of show that her eyes are looking up like that. Of course, there's some coloring here too. Now I'm working with the body over here. I could take another photograph instead and have her sitting down maybe, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and try this one. Looks like the back of her starts at the top, middle of her head, so I'm going to come out. And I'm just going to imagine that it sort of looks shortened because of the angle that we're at. This paw's a little short, a little further back than the other paw here, so I'm going to follow those directions, kind of like as if they're giving me directions. And I know from practice that this back leg is bigger than the front leg. It has kind of a hip or something. Now I might have to actually go look at the dog to see, because that doesn't look as right as I thought it would. So I may have to actually go look at the dog to see. So something like this is what we've got. And then her shoulder, there's her chin. Her shoulder must be kind of at a certain angle, and it's starting up a little bit higher. Some wrinkles in her blouse. She's got her arm around the dog right here. And I see that she's reached around the dog, and her hand is down here. So I like the fact that she's hugging both dogs, so I'm going to put her hands just as it shows. And you know, as we draw a thumb, remember the thumb is different than the other parts of the fingers. The thumb kind of goes against the other things. Now that I like that hand pretty well, I'm still feeling strange about this awkward looking hand. So here we go again. So I'm going to just give it another try. Sometimes you just get lucky and it looks just right to you. So here's that thumb. Again, I'm looking back and forth. Sharpen your pencil if you need to. I'm looking back and forth all the time because I do like that hand. I see the third finger is sort of under the second finger. The fourth finger is kind of splayed out because she's really reaching around this dog. And her pinky is just kind of straight right here. Then you see that she has her wrist kind of a unique angle. And it almost appears as though her arm gets smaller. Okay, I feel a little better about that, and I can keep working about it. Now, believe it or not, I hate to say this, but I'm thinking that her face is a little too large right here. I tend to make eyes too big. I'm not sure why. So I'm actually going to come back up here and make these a little bit smaller. And you know, there are shadows, and we're going to go back in. I'm going to go back in with a pen to show the shadows. I think maybe I can narrow her face a little bit. Okay, so one thing I can also do is go up with my pencil and measure the length of her face. It is longer than the dog's, so even though this picture is proportionately bigger, I can see that her face is longer than dog's. So that's correct. I'm sort of checking myself. I see that her shirt, her hair is coming down here. I don't have to make the outfit the same. Here comes, this is her shirt. I think it must be a sort of one that comes out. And then her legs are coming around here because she is sort of got her legs to the side here. I see a shadow here. I'm not really sure what that is. There's the dog's tummy, a little hind leg right in here. Now this would just be, I've just started on this. I'm going to put ink on it a little bit. Now I'm going to take this fencing and I'm going to look at the fencing right here. And I want to put the fencing in the background. I thought about a red barn, and I might even put something here. So I don't. That other picture was taken in an apartment where she lives. So now I am putting in this back fencing, and this rough wood is actually in front of it. And as these fence posts get further back, they're at different angles. They get smaller, and after a little while, they actually start getting closer and closer together. So right about in here, it is perspective. They're all going back to a point, but because it's on a hill and it's natural wood, not just it's probably cut from the farm area, it gets closer and closer as you go here. I'm glad that I practiced this on the white sheet first because I was a little puzzled how it went down and up, but it's just following the hill. And as it gets near the end, it actually goes up and over a hill. It probably still continues, but we don't see it. And I love observation because as I was observing, I noticed that this cross piece wood is, first of all, not straight, but it is a long piece of wood that is crossing 2 posts at a time, and it's all an odd shape because it's natural, and it looks like there's some wiring that is going around it. Same thing here. The end of 1 post, this goes across 2 posts, and I'm putting some wiring like this, and then the next post is kind of overlapping with the first one and also goes 2. Okay, so in a little bit I'm going to do another video on the inking.